What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the STR Investing Podcast. I am your co-host, Mark Lumpkin. This week, we are bringing you another Monday market data report. We're going to combine the two versions of this. Over the last year, we've done two different versions. One, where we've talked about revenue increase based upon bedroom count. And two, we've talked about amenity-stack and how much competition there is in a specific market based upon amenities. We're going to do them together. We're going to make it fast, fun, try not to make this boring as hell, and we're going to get you guys a cool new market, and we're going to keep these coming every Monday. Thank you for everybody who reached out and requested this. I think it's the best way to do it, and so let's see how it goes. This week's market, we're breaking down West Palm Beach, Florida, a popular tourist destination. You're going to see well over 10 million visitors a year. 2025, you had a 8% jump year over year. Over 2024, so more travelers coming in year over year, and the total tourism economic number is ridiculous, about $12 billion. A lot of people call it the Wall Street effect, right? You get major players moving to West Palm Beach like Goldman Sachs, Citadel, Wells Fargo. Lots of huge corporations have second offices or are even moving their offices to Florida. Obviously, it's the greatest state in all 50 states, and New York is a total hellhole. But that's a topic for another day. So you get a lot of people moving out of New York, a lot of people coming to the free state of Florida, which we love. We love them bringing those tourist dollars and bringing those jobs. So that's a huge driver in West Palm Beach. Where are they coming from? People oftentimes are either coming from the Northeast or they're coming from Dallas, Houston. So you get a lot of people from Texas flying in. About 40% of travelers to West Palm Beach are coming from Texas. And then about 40% are coming from D.C., Philadelphia, and New York. So a huge, easy flight for a lot of people in those two hubs, gets them to the beach, gets them to the sunshine, and gets them out of wherever they are. What a lot of people are looking for is just what we see in kind of the data is that residential luxury, right? You got a lot of people that are looking for those kind of more high-end luxury properties that make them feel good, have those high-end fixtures, things like that. And I've noticed a trend where people are getting away from those five-star hotels and they're leaning more into the short-term rentals that are set up like a luxury hotel. And so we even think about our design differently in West Palm than we would in like Panama City or in the greater Tampa area. And so really leaning into that is going to play into what guests are looking for. And so let's talk about revenue potential. Let's just kick off by talking about the bedroom count and what it does to the revenue potential. We'll briefly touch on one bedrooms. I'm not even going to give the ranges. I'm just going to give the medians to make this short and sweet, and so that we don't bore you with a whole bunch of data, but we give you the data that's interesting. One bedrooms earn on average about $30,000 a year. This is going to be a lot of condos, a lot of small spaces. And then when you jump to two bedrooms, you're earning on average about $40,000 a year, with the high range being almost 90. So there can be some really top performing two bedrooms, but the average is relatively low still. Three bedrooms, you've got a huge range again, with a median being about $65,000 a year in revenue, with a high-end range being $140,000 a year in revenue. So three bedrooms can perform really, really well, depending on how they're set up, where they're located, etc. When we jump to four bedrooms, we see revenue on the medium go up by about 40 grand. So we go from 64 grand on the medium all the way up to 106,000 on the medium, with a high range of 258. There are four bedroom houses in West Palm Beach that are doing over $250,000 a year in revenue. It's crazy. We'll talk about the amenities that are required in order to do that. When we jump to five bedrooms, we once again see about a 30 grand bump in medium. From 4 to 5, we go from about 106 grand on average to 134 grand on average, with the high end being well over 300,000. And then when we go to a 6 bedroom from a 5, and when we see our biggest medium jump, because we see a lot more properties earning well above 200 grand. That's going to push our median. So 6 bedrooms go from making $135 on average to making $206, like a $72,000 jump here, guys, from a 5 to a 6, with the top performers making well over $300,000 a year, almost $325. And so the difference in revenue is pretty drastic based upon the bedroom count. We see that in many markets, but in West Palm, once you hit that 4, 5, and 6, it bumps huge, and bumps huge. So those extra bedrooms make a big difference. The outlier is going to be that the top performing properties have huge earning potential. The average properties are going to do okay. You're going to have to figure that out. You're going to have to amenitize it. You're going to have to design it. You're going to have to manage it well. But there is the potential to make well over 300 grand a year, close to 350 a year in West Palm if you have a property set up properly and with the right bedroom count. You're looking for those 4, 5s, and 6s, guys. So let's talk about amenities. Let's talk about the amenity stack and what's really going to make a big difference. And so I want to just briefly touch on the numbers of the amenities. We're going to talk about a few because this directly relates to the top performers in that market and how they can earn so much. Having a hot tub, a pool, and a waterfront is the most profitable combination, where the average revenue potential is over 200 grand on houses that have those hot tub, pools, and waterfronts, okay? So that's a huge opportunity if you have those 3 things. If you have a pool and a waterfront, you drop down, you lose about 50 grand or a little more, 50 grand in revenue potential, somewhere in the mid hundreds. And that also stays the same for a hot tub and a pool. And so pool waterfront equals the same revenue potential. Pool hot tub equals the same revenue potential as pool waterfront. You can kind of pick and choose there. If you're not waterfront, you definitely need a hot tub. If you are waterfront, you can get away with not having a hot tub. However, if you combine the 3, pool, hot tub, waterfront, you are going to be one of those top earners we mentioned based upon your bedroom count. That's where the real income earning potential comes into play with that combo of amenities. Let's talk about amenity penetration. What do we have here? What are we working with? What are we competing with? What does the market have? And obviously in Florida, a pool is going to be the number 1 amenity to have. It has to be an in-ground pool. It has to be heated. It has to have automation. You have to do it the right way. Do not listen to these designers when they tell you that you can have a cowboy style pool, a metal trough that's full of lukewarm water and perform. It won't work. Those properties never perform because your competitors, 43% of them have in-ground pools. And so you have to compete with that, guys. And so an in-ground pool is probably a non-negotiable if you want to have a top performing property. We've talked clients into doing in-ground pools. Some of them might be listening to this right now. Even though it's a hefty investment, it's one of the best ones you can make. And they have all been very grateful years later after putting in a real pool and not doing a cheap, crappy above ground pool, because that will not work. Then the next one has a fire pit. I was actually surprised that a fire pit's the number 2 most installed amenity in short-term rentals in West Palm. About 22% of properties have fire pits. So if you're going to compete, having a fire pit would come in handy. Has a hot tub, about 20% could have hot tubs. And so those are the 3 most implemented amenities: hot tub, fire pit, and pool in West Palm. We then take a huge drop. And what's cool about that is that means that if you go into this market, you implement these amenities the correct way, that you can really stand out. And so the next one is going to be a game room. At less than 12% have game rooms, less than 10% have mini golf, less than 9% have pool tables, less than 9% have home gyms, 8% have playgrounds, only 7% are waterfront. I know we talked about that combination of waterfront, pool, and hot tub and how that results in having the top earner in those categories based upon bedroom count. But it's very interesting to see that only 7.4% of properties, short-term rentals, are waterfront, which really is a way to stand out if you can find a property that's waterfront. Knocks out 95% of your competition. The next one, I'm obviously the king of pickleball courts. 3.9% of short-term rentals in this market have pickleball courts. I bet we installed pretty much every single one of those guys. But even so, getting a pickleball court, you're going to have an amenity that 96% of your competitors don't have, and it can be a huge, great way to stand out. Having a sauna, less than 3% of people have that, and less than 1% of people have a movie theater. So hopefully that's helpful, guys. The bedroom count makes a huge difference. The amenity stack is actually not that competitive. I know like a week or 2 ago, we talked about Gatlinburg and how heavily amenitized Gatlinburg is. West Palm is not necessarily like that yet. And so you can show up, you can amenitize a property, you can stand out. I want to thank STR Search, our data provider, for providing all this great data, guys. They are the go-to folks when it comes to acquisitions in the short-term rental space. I would never buy another short-term rental without their help. And if you guys need any help on design, renovations, or just need some free advice, reach out to me. You can always connect with me. And thank you for listening to the STR Investing Podcast. We have another guest speaker coming this Friday, and I will continue Market Mondays moving forward like this. You're going to get the bedroom count, the revenue that's associated with those bedrooms. You're going to get the amenity competition and what the percentages is of amenity density in that market. And then I'm also going to try to throw in a little bit of extra data here and there where I can. So thanks for tuning in, guys. We will catch you this Friday on the STR Investing Podcast.